There could be 11 quarterbacks. No, I think there is 11 quarterbacks that could be first round picks. Now, I'm not saying all 11 are going to go in the first round. Let me be very clear. I do not think there's going to be 11 first round quarterbacks for 2027. But there's 11 first round talents, and there's a difference between the two. Because I think all 11 of these guys, if you plop them into 2026, where it's Fernando Mendoza and friends, and the second best quarterback in this class is maybe Garrett Nussmeier. We could talk about Ty Simpson, maybe. I think these guys automatically sought themselves as that QB2, with some of these guys potentially being better prospects than Fernando Mendoza. So what we're going to do is talk about who's a lock to make the first round in 2027 and truly understand how deep and crazy this class is, because it is insane to think about. And then we'll talk about the maybes. And the maybes is why I want to talk about this, truthfully. The locks are not as interesting, but who could pop off from this maybe tier? And you throw in the context that there's going to be like 1 to 2, maybe even 3 guys that we've never even heard of that are going to pop into this conversation, truthfully. There's 3 quarterbacks in 2027 that are going to be first round locks. Arch Manning, easily a first round lock. You could still try to do the conversation where he was like, or where many people would said, he's going to be a 3-star. If you take away the last name, he's nothing. The talent's not there. The talent is real. Let's get that out of the way right now. The talent is so real when we talk about Arch. It is not something that is just a fugazi. It's a real thing. The arm talent, the mobility. The problem is what we thought or assumed was going to be so good, especially with the last name on his back, was the mechanics. The mechanics are terrible. The mechanics are inconsistent, and with that inconsistency causes inaccuracies. Luckily, he misses low and not high like a Marcel Reed, who I just finished watching his tape. When Marcel misses, it goes high. That's why safeties pick him off all the time. At least with Arch, when he misses, the dirt is intercepting the ball before any defender can get there. If he can hone things in, it is not a perfect product at the end of 2025, but it was a tale of 2 different seasons for him. When he really put it together in the second half of that season, in these brief moments, if he could start to puzzle all of them together, because truthfully, the second half of the season for Texas, he was making really good decisions that Texas players were not helping him in the stat column when we're looking at dropping the pass or pressures being allowed, like all these different things. Texas now has a better situation, and frankly, I see no excuses for him to look a lot better. Same could be said for Dante Moore. Dante Moore returns to school. I think he will be a first-round pick. Was it risky to go back to school? Absolutely, but I do think it'll work out in his favor. Best wide receiver room in the entire country, a great offensive line, a great system, a great opportunity to play against high-level talent. I think it's a risk to have more tape out there from the perspective of Dante Moore, but I do think him having more starts is going to set him up for great success, especially as we start to have the conversations. Julian Sain's an interesting case because I don't think Julian Sain is one of those athletes that really pop off the page. A lot of people see him as like this 5-star, and there's even jokes about his own teammates kind of looking around saying, that's a 5-star, that's our quarterback. But I think the intangibles, I think the accuracy is good enough to a point where it's going to have him in the conversation for a first-round pick. And I think it's a very difficult path for him to not be a first-round pick, to be honest with you. But the maybe tier, who's potentially going to make it into the first round of the draft? And let me know if I missed a name. There's already a name in the back of my head that I'm not going to say just yet, but I do think there's a world where he makes it. DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway, I think, is easily a potential first-round pick. The talent didn't just disappear, guys. There's so much hype that was built off of DJ Lagway's name after the first round or the first year of him starting, and it didn't work out at Florida. But why didn't it work out at Florida? I think a couple of reasons. Number one, the play calling and the design around his skill set was very much, we're going to put the weight of the world on his shoulders. And he's a talent that should be able to carry that. But he's also a young kid that has been injured time and time again throughout his early career, even dating back to high school, that I think a guy like Lagway going to Baylor, going and playing for a system that is going to be so simplified. I mean, we're talking about, I'm blanking on his name, Jake Spavital. Jake Spavital is going to run a very simplistic system. And usually I see that as a red flag when we talk about an NFL prospect. I think it's going to work wonders for him. I think it's going to be something that makes him get to the basics, rise up his floor a little bit. And then when he gets to the NFL level, you now can start to build off of that. I think he didn't have a great foundation in terms of processing, decision making. And I don't think he had enough reps to really get comfortable within that scheme going against one of the most difficult schedules that I've ever seen. I'm not giving up on DJ Lagway. I just can't do it. Sam Levitt is in a case where he's going to be a part of a Lincoln, or not Lincoln Riley. He's going to be a part of a Lane Kiffin system where he's going to be able to put up great numbers. I think because of what we've seen with Jackson Dart in New York and breaking the stereotype of Lane Kiffin quarterbacks really can't work at the next level. I think Levitt is going to fit exactly that mold of a cocky gunslinger that can create a little bit, but play within the confines. And he's going to be a guy that I think a lot of people are going to like. I think he's going to put up great numbers. I think it's going to be a snowball effect as he gets a little bit more healthy. They're not going to look great early into the season, but I think he's going to gain a lot of momentum towards the end of it. And I really like Sam Levitt to be a guy that NFL draft scouts love a ton, but I think he's going to find himself potentially in the late first round conversation. Lenore Sellers, the talent didn't disappear. The talent is still in the room with us. The talent is a lot of upside. This is a quarterback that a lot of people were looking at and saying, he is one of the most talented, if not the talented player of the entire country. This is a kid that can create chicken salad out of chicken you know what. This kid is ridiculous. The problem is, and I tried to tell people, and this is why I'm trying to repeat some of the things I said, they were not a top 15 team. The way that they were winning football games is not sustainable because what they ask out of Sellers is to play hero ball. I think with a better system, Kendall Briles comes in and it's going to simplify things for him. Now they're going to have one of the more talented offensive lines. I think that the wide receiver return and Nick Harbor is going to be fun, and they still have Dylan Stewart. I really do like South Carolina, and we'll talk about them probably next episode, actually. I think for sake of time, we're going to talk about South Carolina next episode. John Mateer, we talked about Oklahoma a little bit. John Mateer's so fun. He's such a fun prospect to really evaluate, but he's also frustrating. He is lightning in a bottle. He's energy. He's everything you could be looking for in like a Johnny Manziel type quarterback, a Zach Wilson out of college, a really fun, will do something that like scratches that itch in your brain. Problem is, if you start to mature what your eyes are seeing and what you could try to translate to the next level, he's like a buck wild horse. You need to corral him. And that's the biggest concern with him. The arm talent, the creation is incredible. Does he have a wonky release? You're damn right. And it's not consistent. Same thing could be said for his inaccuracy. It's not consistent. The footwork, the mechanics need so much work. He's a buck wild horse. But if you can corral it and it all starts to piece together, Oklahoma could find themselves back in the college football playoff. Oklahoma could find themselves with a star quarterback that could be winning a Heisman. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm not selling my stock on Mateer just yet. Thorsby's one that I've had a lot of my friends talk about. Cincinnati quarterback, goes to Texas Tech. Very talented kid, can layer a football at a very high level, throws over the middle, has a lot of ability to create and be a rushing threat, very much a north-south runner. And that's not to say he's going to truck through someone, but he really gets the business and tries to get yardage as quickly as possible. He did a lot of great things at Cincinnati. He's going to go to Texas Tech where he's going to have a great situation around him. If he continues to develop, I mean, I thought he was a great candidate to go to the NFL draft this past cycle. He goes back. He's going to have another year of development and being a starter. I think he's going to be a kid that if I had to say who is going to be a lock or who is the most likely from this tier, I think it's Levitt. I think it's Sorsby. I think Mensa is another name. Those are the three names I would mention. Darian Mensa, we've talked about time and time again. Going with Shannon Dawson is going to do wonders for his development. We're talking about a guy in Mensa that we even made a whole segment about it because I watched his tape and I thought him and Cooper Bartake are incredibly good players, that he's going to have a great system in supporting cast around him Mark Fletcher, Malachi Toney, Cooper, Shannon Dawson, a good offensive line. And what's so good about that is for the fact that Mensah can create a ton. He can make these highlight wow plays, get you out of your seat. But he makes the easy stuff look really difficult sometimes. But Shannon Dawson's going to be so good at putting him in a position to simplify things. He's going to have comfortability with a wide receiver, which is going to work wonders. And Shannon is going to be so good about getting him back into the rhythm that if he's having an off day and he's misfiring, because it's really an up and down situation with him sometimes when we saw at Duke, that he's going to get comfortable quicker. He's going to have a better situation around him. There's so much to like about Mensah as a potential first-round pick. The one that is harder to sell people on, a lot of the college football public have not mentioned this guy's name in a very long time. Nico Iamaleava could be a first-rounder. Or he could be Taylor Green. Very similar body type, 6'6", lengthy, almost Slenderman-like build. But the talent didn't leave. The talent didn't disappear. Nico is going to be a quarterback that I wouldn't project is a lot of people going to have on mock drafts going throughout the 2026 season. But Nico's a guy that I could so see it. I could see it as clear as day if I had a crystal ball and I was really trying to look at the future of the NFL and the draft cycle and the conversations, because I've seen it time and time again. He's going to have a great pro day. He's going to look great in the Senior Bowl setting. He has done incredible work, even dating back to high school. Those settings, the drills and those types of things is where Nico shines. Pro day, Senior Bowl, Combine. That's where he's going to really pop off the screen. I could see the hype train. I could very well see the hype train paired with a very good season at UCLA, which I think he was underrated this year in terms of production and being a good quarterback. Not saying he was an elite level top 10 guy, should be in conversations that he shouldn't be in, but he was very much an underrated quarterback for stretches within this 2025 season. Josh Hoover's the last name I'm going to mention here. We talked about Indiana getting back to the college football playoff. Hoover is going to be in an RPO-savvy system. He's a gunslinger. He could create a little bit more than Fernando Mendoza. This is just a system. I think the best version of Josh Hoover could find himself in these NFL draft conversations, more specifically the first round. It's one of those things where it's like Indiana's going to be able to have one of the best offensive lines. They're going to get the most out of the quarterback position. If you're getting the most out of a talent like Josh Hoover from TCU, why wouldn't I have him in these conversations for the first round? I think it'd be dumb not to. That's 11 guys. That's 11 quarterbacks that I think poll a room, talk to anybody within the NFL draft space or college football, and they will all tell you at least one of those guys, two of those guys, three, maybe even four are going to make it into the NFL draft for the first round. And then you add on the locks. That's potentially 7 quarterbacks that could go in the first round in a loaded draft class, by the way, that has Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart, Jeremiah Smith, and many others. I'm trying to tell people, I'm trying to warn you how good this class is going to be, because it's about to be ridiculous.